Hey guys, welcome to the Bows. Today I'll be giving my thoughts on the main event title fight between Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya. I think to many people's surprise, Jan won. Adesanya was on a tear lately leading up to this fight and was obviously undefeated too. And I was a little surprised in the way Jan won. I thought for him to come out on top, he would have to catch Adesanya with a big bomb and put him out, or he would have to control him on the ground or in the clinch for a considerable amount of time, which is what Jan did, mainly in rounds 4 and 5. But Jan was forced to stand with Izzy for most of the first 3 rounds. And it was pretty even on the feet. I think Adesanya won the first round and Jan won rounds 4 and 5. I think those rounds were pretty decisive in who won. I thought rounds 2 and 3 were very close and could have gone either way. I wouldn't have been surprised if they gave Izzy rounds 1, 2, and 3 because they were that close. But at the end of the day, I think the right guy won. To take the title from the champ via decision, it has to be obvious, and I think the argument for Adesanya is plausible, but not as strong as the argument for Blachowicz winning the fight. Very close fight though. So how did he do it? How did Jan beat this ultra-sophisticated striker? For one, I think that the lack of speed that people were talking about for Jan was very much so overestimated. He's not that slow. 2, like I said in the pre-fight video, Jan's reach is fairly close to Izzy's. It's only 2 inches less. Jan is also a pretty technical striker himself. His defense is especially noteworthy. Fighters have a hard time trying to hurt this guy. He checked many of Izzy's leg kicks, and he covered up nicely when getting struck to the head and body. This is something I noticed in his previous fight, too. Reyes couldn't really do any damage to Jan. At first, I didn't really take this fight into account that much because Izzy is the far more precise striker as opposed to Reyes. Although Izzy did not damage Jan that much, he damaged him more than Reyes, but it wasn't like a huge amount, even though he's so much more precise in his striking. There was also a discrepancy in skill in the grappling department. Jan is better there, for sure, but it was exemplified by the size difference. Besides Jan's technical skills being severely underrated, Jan is also 1, very patient. He stays very disciplined, even when things aren't going his way, like what happened in round 1, which he lost the first round. And 2, he's incredibly opportunistic. He always seems to be able to capitalize on people's mistakes. We saw this specifically in the Corey Anderson fight, when Corey Anderson threw a naked leg kick without any setup, and his hands were down, and his head was right there to be hit. A lesser fighter may not have capitalized on this, and have gotten out-wrestled by Corey like many people do against Corey. They get out-wrestled. Which is what people thought was going to happen in that fight with Jan anyway, because that's what happened in the first fight with them. So people were expecting the same exact thing. In the Reyes fight, he saw the openings to the body for the body kicks and punches to the face that ultimately ended the fight and put Reyes away, and didn't overextend himself in any situation. In the Izzy fight, he knew when to shoot in for the takedowns, specifically in rounds 4 and 5, which ultimately won him the fight. The round 5 takedown was especially well timed. Overall, I'd have to say that Jan is a great fighter with very high skill level, experience, and fight IQ. We are seeing this trend nowadays with these UFC fighters who have been around for such a long time, where they have had their fair share of losses and they're now at the top of their game. There's something to be said about having all that experience year after year fighting against the best fighters in the world, even if there are losses along the way. We are seeing this with guys now such as Jan, Glover Teixeira, and Charles Oliveira, just to name a few. And yes, there are plenty of guys who have been in the UFC for just as long, if not longer, and they're not on top of their divisions. But we should be careful in assessing someone's chances at becoming an elite fighter due to having a multitude of losses. It's not a good metric to measure a guy's skill set by. A lot of combat sports nowadays is fixated on guys having very good, if not perfect, records. This should not be a heavily considered element at all. It is more of a problem in boxing, but there is still some of that undefeated aura in MMA. Anyway, it appears like Glover Teixeira is next for Jan. This is an interesting matchup, and I presume that it'll happen sometime around the end of the year, maybe in the fall at the earliest if we're lucky. Alright, that's all I got for you today. Leave a like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you thought about the fight, and I'll see you next time. Peace.